Well, these issues are pretty important because the United Nations has this, I can't say that word to save my life. You can say it. It's a State of the Future statement. Yes. Could you tell us about some of the predictions that the United Nations project communicates to us?
Mm-hmm. It's a tricky word, millennial.
Yes, thank you.
The Millennial Project, which viewers can, of course, go and Google UN's Millennial Project, mm-hmm. involved 4,000 scientists and researchers taking a look at global trends, and also involved the U.S. Army and divisions of the U.S. Navy. I know a lot of people tend to blow the UN off as if it were some sort of global conspiracy. I don't see it that way, and perhaps some who are inclined that way will take comfort in knowing that our armed forces were directly involved in these studies. What they saw is that the likelihood of sharp increases in the cost of food and in the availability of food, and a host of harsh environmental consequences finally coming home to roost, including climate change, which, as you are probably well aware, the vast majority, 99% or more of scientists agree, is already underway. It's going to impact our food, and it's going to impact our social stability. According to the Navy and the Army, as they were involved with the study, there are over 100 nations that could go into political instability over the next 10 to 20 years. And
that's a huge thing.
It's huge.
And then as evidence of that, something I read recently during the whole Gulf of Mexico oil spill thing, that beyond that oil spill, there is an underlying crisis in the Gulf, and there's these dead zones. And could you tell us more about that so that people can understand how our relationship with the land impacts the entire globe?
There are indeed vast dead zones in the Gulf long before the disaster that played out in April and May and through the summer. And it's generally caused by fertilizer runoff, although many of the other chemicals that are used in industrial agriculture also go into the streams and feed into the rivers and go into the Missouri and then into the Mississippi and out into the Gulf. And what happens is they cause a vast bloom in the algae in the Gulf of Mexico, and that algae, when it gets the fertilizer, just explodes and chokes off oxygen, causing all forms of sea life in that area to expire, to die. And this has been a problem for a couple of decades, but it's really up, especially this year, 2010, and the Gulf oil spill really compounded that problem. So, everything you put on the land eventually goes into the water, and if it's not going down the Missouri to the Mississippi, it's going into the Oglala aquifer, and that, as you know, many of the wells all across Nebraska are tapped into that aquifer, that vast aquifer, and it has suffered from contamination, as well as just general depletion. I think Smithsonian Magazine, in studying it, said we got about 10 years left.
Now, one of the things I think is just really frightening is hearing all these things, hearing that our relationship with the land is not as good as it should be, that the globe is interconnected, a variety of food resources are at danger. And here's your book, The Call of the Land, and what I really like about it is it's so filled with hope. Could you tell us what you see is so hopeful?
Mm-hmm. I see the response to the call from thousands, well, I guess if I said millions, I wouldn't be exaggerating. But so many people see what's going on in the world and are, in fact, responding intelligently, whether it's planting a backyard garden, becoming involved with community-supported agriculture, or if they are a larger farm involved in commodity production, beginning to make the transition to sustainable agricultural systems. And that's happening in Nebraska. I'm a member of the Nebraska Sustainable Agricultural Society, and also Buy Fresh, Buy Local, affiliated with UNL and Beline Nemec, and community crops, and there are just so many ways to be involved in so many positive developments. And
so you're saying that we have this huge problem with how we're getting our food, but that there are answers out there. There are solutions.
There are thousands of models across the United States, and I wrote the book as kind of a survey and a synthesis of these different models, because I don't think there's just one answer to the environmental, economic, and social problems. There's a vast array of solutions, and if they're highlighted and people actively shut off their television, but not until this show is over, and get out there and get involved, it's going to make a difference. That's, for me, where the hope lies. Not just in the possibility that that could happen, but in the reality that it is in fact happening.
Good, good. Now, it seems like you're very influenced by Native American perspectives. Could you tell us what you gain from Native American understanding of the relationship between people and the land?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a funny story, Barb. When it must be 30 years ago, I saw a bumper sticker that said, broken treaty record, natives 0, white man 376. Couldn't figure it out. So finally the owner of the car came out and he said, well, there have been 376 legally binding treaties, and every single one of them has been broken or violated by the U.S. government. I couldn't believe it. I said, this is my country, and I love it. And we wouldn't do that. But I researched, and I was just shocked to find we'd been faithless. And that motivated me, and I began coming into relation with lots of Native American elders, and have written 4 or 5 books exploring what contemporary elders might have to say. And as you know, I came to know Leon Secatero of the Navajo Nation. He's passed on. What I learned, I guess the most basic idea, is that we have a relationship with the earth, and as in any relationship, it's reciprocal. If you're taking care, affection, nurturing, support, you have to give it back, or the relationship will sour and fall apart. Same thing with the earth. Native people speak of the earth as our mother, and take care of your mom. She took care of you. And that's such a core idea. And in parallel with that would be the 7th generation teaching, which is when you make a decision on planting a crop or harvesting it, or any important step that you take in your life, you think not only of your children, but also your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and on for 7 generations.
Yeah, that's very good philosophy.